Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? Another week, another edition of the show. This week, I'm excited to have Mineral King on the show. I have Kasey and Aiden with me here today. And if you've listened to past episodes, you'll know that Mineral King was on my weekly threes, the three things I'm listening to. So as again, when I do have a band that I'm enjoying and reach out to them and they decide to come on the show, it's always a great day here. So first and foremost, Kasey, Aiden, thank you guys so much for being here this week.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man. This is super cool.
Yeah, this is really, really sweet. Can't wait to get going.
So I'm gonna start with Aiden and try to bridge this this gap in music where things have to come into play now, where you kind of have to fall into a playlist or an algorithm, and it starts with genre labeling in this world that we live in. And if you had to place yourself in a genre label to fall under some stupid algorithm to get on a playlist, what would you list Mineral King as?
This one we get a lot. It's so hard. It's funny because we've been doing this for 4 years at this point, and I think we sometimes still ask ourselves, like what sort of band is this? And I think usually when we tell people, I think we fall under sort of an indie rock category, but there's elements of a little bit of softer rock in there, a little bit of kind of folk and country at times, and it's a little progressive and a little Midwest emo. So it's kind of like a weird Cobb salad of all the different types of music we like. But yeah, usually I think we just settle on being, sort of indie rock, indie progressive rock,
Yeah, and it's so, I like how you can't really define it. I mean, you did with 7 different genres, but at the same time, I think it's, and especially what you said, I mean, it all holds true to your music. Like, you did throw out like 7 genres, and I can hear it all through all the music, which I think is, to a music lover, I think that's fantastic. And the unfortunate part of the world we live in today is that it's really hard to get something that brilliant and beautiful out there, because you kind of have to fall into a category. When it comes to certain things, Kasey, do you think with your guys' songwriting process, do you try to fall into a category, or are you just creating the songs that mean the most to you and you're really proud of at the end of the day?
This is something I've thought a lot about. I mean, I think there's both things happening for me, at least when I'm writing songs. Like, the number one thing is, I think the ethos for us for making music is we just make stuff that we would want to hear. Like, that's like the number one thing that we do. But I think the way that I sort of try and keep it in the zone is I'm always trying to listen to stuff that's new and cool. Like, I'm trying to really immerse myself in a lot of stuff that I think is really cool right now and feels fresh, and feels like, like, oh, I would love to go out on tour with this band. I'm going to listen to their album a bunch. And I think that sort of necessarily influences a lot of the songwriting when I'm really into bands like Pool Kids or Carly Cosgrove or some other stuff that's just like, oh, these guys are coming up right now and they're really fucking rad. Then I'm influenced by them. So I think that's if I'm doing anything, or if we're doing anything to make it sort of palatable or marketable, it's just like in absorbing as much cool new stuff as possible.
Yeah, I mean, like, you just named 2 bands, Carly Cosgrove and Pool Kids, that, I mean, I think are completely different in so many different ways, but could almost function into the same commonalities that, you may find in playlists somewhere.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So when it comes to, now the process of creating and identifying, Aiden, as you said, sometimes it's hard to, quantify what it is you are sound-wise as a band. Do you look forward to the next song and seeing where that takes you to a new place as a band?
Yeah, I think it feels like every time we kind of get back in it and start bringing songs forward, there's always a little bit of a musical shift in a way, and like Kasey said, it's sort of what's inspiring us at the moment, and what we're checking out at the time. You're like, hey, check out this Kasey Klar album, and this, then the next song just starts getting maybe a little heavier, and there's elements from the last Delta Sleep album was very influential, and I think when it comes down to I think every new song sort of is an excuse for us to just sort of play around and have fun with it, and it's kind of helpful. It's a curse, but it's helpful in a way, not having a definitive like this is who we are, and so it makes it so every time we do go and write new songs, it's sort of a fun new process.
Now, it's not like you guys are in the car at the same time listening to a new band or a new album, right? So when you do get together and say, Aiden, you're listening to Delta Sleep, Kasey, you're listening to Kasey Klar, and you come together to make a song, is there kind of an imbalance in the starting process of a new song because of the differences, there may be between what you're listening to at that time?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to cause friction here. I'm just, getting to the root of it.
Now that I'm feeling attacked. I think when if anything, because we kind of come to the band with it's either it's like a Kasey or Aiden idea, and every time it's sort of fun. Like, you can hear where the influence is, and then especially with I think the difference between both of our writing, it's we have specific things, but it makes it fun every time we kind of approach a new song. I don't know, what were you going to say, Kasey?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think interestingly, instead of it causing friction, I think that's one of the reasons I really like making music with this group, because I'll write a song and I'll be like, oh man, this is like a Pedro the Lion song, or this is like, and I'm like doing a thing. I'm like, oh, this is kind of like a Reliant K song. And then like we get in the room and our drummer Marcus plays something totally unexpected, and I'm like, whoa, this is really cool, because he's been listening to some other stuff, and Aiden pulls out like a Police riff, you know what I mean? And I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect that. And I think that's part of what makes the genre of what we make so mushy in general, is that like all this stuff's kind of happening at the same time, but I think we're pretty good about letting each other as instrumentalists just like, hey, just play what you think is cool here. And like, if it works, it works. And if not, then we'll sort of massage it. But yeah, I think that's one of the really interesting things is the sort of, we all like the same music, but we all listen to different music. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And we're going to remove that word mushy because that doesn't sound good for the awesomeness of what you guys make. So we're going to call it eclectic.
Sure. Diverse.
Yeah, it's very diverse as opposed to mushy. That doesn't sound very good or palatable.
Mush metal.
Yeah, we're mushcore actually.
Yeah.
That's the
there you
genre
go.
I'd call it.
And again, I was trying to cause friction. So if you guys break up a couple months after this, it's because you actually hate each other and has nothing to do with this podcast. But I want to. We're gonna get into a little bit of some fun memory lane stuff here. And I'm going to start with you, Aiden. There's these pivotal moments when you're young. And a lot of it starts and stems music in your life is like that first moment as a child when you hear something that is like finally piques your interest into wanting to know more about music. And then that second moment is when you kind of find your own music after that. Do you kind of remember your first musical memory that piqued your interest in wanting to know more about music as a child?
Yeah. And that second question is a doozy. That's a really good one. But yeah, my first... kind of hard to totally lock down because my parents were always listening to a lot. They weren't musicians, but they were avid listeners, and so there was just always music in the car, and always current music as well. But I think specifically there's two songs. It was Beginnings by Chicago. When I was like a little kid, I just loved that song. I don't know why. I think it's off of Chicago Transit Authority, but it's Beginnings, and then there's a Brazilian artist by the name of Gilberto Gil, and my mom had it was like a mixtape of Brazilian artists' greatest hits from like the last 50 years. And there's just one song on there, and it's Não Quero Jodó, I think it is. But yeah, those were two moments as like a little kid. I remember getting really obsessed with. I started getting avid listening and wanting to, my mom to put on stuff in the car. I guess the active listening starts. And then it's hard to say with when my own music taste. I'd probably say, for a lot of people, because a lot of my music taste was inspired by my parents, and they fortunately had a cool sense of music taste. But it wasn't until like junior high, early 2010s, I was really into sort of the metalcore stuff like Dance Gavin Dance and Follow Troy. And, dubstep was around, like Skrillex was huge. I think that was when I first started like branching off into my own, this was my music and definitely not my parents', I guess.
Yeah.
But the Follow Troy influence, I think, definitely still, hits me to this day. That there's still always a little bit of Follow Troy here and there.
Nice memories. Kasey, same questions to you.
I mean, this is something that Aiden can connect with. I grew up with a lot of Rush in the house. My dad was a big Rush listener. And a lot of like 70s and 80s. Like Rush was probably the most interesting thing he listened to. The rest of the stuff was very like sort of jock, like Foreigner, pop rock type stuff. But that really, I mean, like, yeah, we would listen to a lot of it in the car and we would sing along to a lot of it. I think that, along with, I have a couple older brothers, so in the early 2000s, they were really into like the early pop punk type stuff, Fall Out Boy and stuff like that. And Say Anything was a huge band when I was a kid for us as brothers. And then interestingly, I think my own music taste, I was thinking about this the other day. I think Pandora was pretty pivotal for me finding my own. It was like the height of Pandora in the late 2000s. And I found a lot of music on Pandora. But yeah, I don't know. I think the earliest band I can really remember being like, this is so sick, was Linkin Park. Linkin Park when you're 12 hits different, man.
Yeah.
That's perfect music for 12-year-olds. But yeah, I don't know. I think honestly, I don't know if my music taste really coalesced till I was like 17 or 18. Like I think I had a really good batch of sort of hand-me-down music. And it wasn't until I started really reaching out, I think one of the first bands that I found that it was really like, this is my band, was a band called Jukebox the Ghost. That was actually pretty hugely influential. And then like I found the Deer Hunter pretty quickly after that.
And when you found that, like there's a like that moment too, because I remember it may not happen for everybody the same way, but like when I found a band that I thought that like no one knew about and was really excited to show a friend or someone else and be like, dude, you got to hear this, like as a kid. And for me back then it was handing out CDs. We didn't have this whole digital thing, so it was like, I found this CD, you got to listen to this band, and like helping turn people onto it. Kasey, do you have was Deer Hunter or Jukebox Ghost one of those bands that you were excited to show to a friend that you knew had probably never heard of it?
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. Honestly, I think sometimes to this day, but sometimes when I find something that's really special, I don't show it to anybody.
You're selfish bastard.
Like,
yeah.
Aiden and I were roommates in college, and I remember showing him Jukebox the Ghost. This would have been many years after I found it. And I think it was like the first person I had ever told about it. I was like, hey, I listen to this band sometimes. Because it's like sometimes it's so close and it connects with you so deeply that I'm like, I don't want anyone to tell me this is stupid. I just want it for me,
Yeah, but at the same time, like that just called you a selfish bastard, because that's like the whole point of it is like to find this awesome music and to get it to someone else.
Oh,
were you muted, Aiden?
I think I lost sound briefly.
Oh, well, here we are. Yeah, I think once I started getting to college, Aiden and I went to music school together. Once I started really getting, and I was hanging out with musicians all the time, I started really sharing bands. I think Pinegrove was one of the first bands that I got really evangelical about. Like 2017, 2018, I was like, you gotta listen to this. And it took some convincing, but I think I got a bunch of my.
I think I was a little reluctant at first. I think at the beginning I was a little like, this sounds a little worshipy. And I was on a weird crusade where I'm like, everything had to be fast and exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, it's not exciting enough. And I warmed up. I opened up like a flower.
Yeah.
Evan Stevens all.
I understand the the exact sentiment that you're coming from, and over the years I have grown, and because they're from a town away from me, but
Sure.
and seen them many times. But at the same time, like it did take. I knew I liked it. I just didn't understand the brilliance behind it until way into it. Like 3 records into it, and I was like, oh, now I fucking get Pinegrove.
Yeah,
I probably say
I think Marigold was the one that got Aiden too. That record.
I admit I'm a bandwagoner for sure, because that Marigold album got me.
Yeah.
And even the last record, which I had mixed feelings of at first, had some songs to me that really like left a huge impact, and definitely my playing. Maybe not intentionally at first, but I was definitely trying to pull off some Evan Stevens Hall sort of licks, and I guess tone for sure too. I loved his guitar tone.
Yeah, the guitar tone is a huge. I mean, all my guitar tone is Pinegrove. Wow. For sure.
Now, speaking of instrument, Kasey, what was the first instrument that you picked up or were forced into taking lessons on?
Cello. I started playing cello in like 2nd grade, and I think I quit around 5th grade because I thought I didn't. Cello is like the backup instrument. It's like the support instrument. And I think it was really frustrating to me that I never got to play any of the cool lines.
It's so beautiful, like the tonality of it. Like it's so beautiful, though.
I appreciate it now. I don't think me at 9 years old was.
It's also bigger than
tonality out of it.
Yeah, it was also bigger than you. So playing that at a 9-year-old is probably
learning curve on those things it sucked. I played cello as well for a bit. I felt like I didn't sound nearly good until like 4 years in. I was like, okay, this is sort of starting to go somewhere.
Yeah.
As a little kid, you're just going from guitar. We're like, wow, I'm playing Nirvana. Then I have to play Mary Had the Little Lamb, just torturing everyone's ears.
So when did you get the cool instrument, Kasey?
I didn't really. So like I'm sort of a singer by trade, I would say, mostly. I did a lot of theater and stuff when I was a kid because it was a place where they would let me sing. And I didn't really start playing instrument. I played ukulele, and Aiden and I had a band in college where I would play an overdriven ukulele that was pretty silly and pretty fun.
What was the name of that band?
It was called Kansas City Theater. Shout out to my boy Callum. Played bass in Kansas City.
Big up to the Callum.
But yeah, it wasn't until 2020 I picked up a guitar. And then that was kind of like a huge seismic shift because I was like, oh my God, I can play all the songs I like and they sound the same. It really was like a religious moment.
Nice. Now, I mean, you gave me the name of that band. What was the name of your very first band, Kasey? Ever?
The name of my very first band, Aiden was also in that band. It was called The Bee's Knees.
All right. Wow. Was that your very first band name, Aiden?
That wasn't my first band.
Okay.
But
that might be in our top 5 worst first band names.
Oh yeah.
So let's see if what Aiden's is.
I think my first band, I was in a band with my little brother. I think it was Eastwood. I just saw like Dirty Harry. So I'm like, Clint, you're 12. So you're like, Clint Eastwood's badass. And then, so that was the name of the band.
Eastwood.
And there actually is now. I mean, you should have copyrighted it because there's a great band called Eastwood. So
are you kidding me?
No.
Solid band name.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Check them out. They're fucking fantastic. I think
maybe they saw me in the 6th grade talent show.
They could have, right? They absolutely could have.
These guys are onto something. We could just market off of this.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
You're not from Kentucky though, right? Because they were all from Kentucky.
I could be from Kentucky if you
want.
Yeah,
see? Yeah, no, hey, we can log it right now. You are from Kentucky. You did come up with that name, and there are 4 albums. They have to change the name of the band now. So
they have to be Eastwood US or something like the Jam.
Yeah. Eastwood 182.
Oh, even better.
Yeah. Now, when you're performing, I mean, there's cello, there's all these things. So, Aiden, do you remember your very first live performance of music in front of strangers?
That's a hard one. Probably like a school, because I did orchestra as well as a kid. It was cello. Yeah, I think so. But that's for the parents, and then we had a little talent show here and there. But I think it was just just torturing all those parents with just the classics.
All right,
classic.
let's remove the parents aspect and like
Yeah.
kids in school. Like your first ever like trying to, and I say trying, maybe you were a phenomenal musician when you started, but that first performance in front of like a couple of your friends probably showed up,
I
but
think
a lot of people that didn't know who you were or whatever band you were in, the Bee's Knees was all about.
I think before the Bee's Knees, it was we played a rec center with one of my bands in high school. It wasn't even a rec center; it was like a pool house in like a weird housing development like project in our town, and it was actually with Jonas, our bassist. We were in a band in high school together, and it was us, and then it was like a crazy hardcore band from Palmdale. And it was like 35-year-old guys, and then us. It was a weird vibe, but I think that was like my first official playing in front of strangers, sort of house party, pool house, whatever it was.
Now, how did you feel immediately after you were done playing?
Oh, I was
Remember that feeling? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was all three people moshing. Just I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. No, I mean, it just gave me the confidence as somebody who's, I never had a problem with like public speaking, but also I was sort of shy as a kid. So it felt like kind of a one thing I was like really good at. I wasn't necessarily like really good at sports or anything like that. And I wasn't like super smart. So it felt like after that, I was like, hey, I'm actually like sort of good at this, maybe I could do this.
Nice. How about you, Kasey? Do you remember your first ever performance as an artist in front of complete strangers?
It definitely was the Bee's Knees. That band started. We had this friend named Gabe who had written a bunch of songs, and he was a drummer. And we were all just hanging out drinking at somebody's house one night, and he was like, "I got all these songs, Kasey. You sing, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And we were just kind of like, let's start a band. And we got Aiden and a couple other guys involved. And then at my parents' house, we built a stage and we invited like everybody from the high school. There was like 150 kids there probably. That was really crazy.
And after that moment was over, is that what just changed you to be like, got to keep doing this forever?
Yeah. It did change the course of my life, probably to a much less lucrative path, because I was like, yeah, I think unfortunately I just need to do this forever all the time now. It was like the coolest thing I had ever done in my life up to that point. I think also making it ourselves and like the DIY ethos, like DIY has always been super important to us and still is super important to us. And I think that's kind of where it started, because when you make everything yourself, it feels really fulfilling when you're up there and like, dang, people are here. And just because I like had this idea and now there's people here, like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's where, the best part of it comes from, right? It's that, you bake this beautiful cake and people enjoy eating it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's more important than you eating it yourself.
Yeah, totally. And like, there's no instructions. It's not like you made it from a box,
Yeah.
And you were just like, I have this idea for a cake and then people love it. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's just
I don't
such
know if
a
that
great
metaphor held out, but
no, it totally. Yeah. It's just some flour and shit in the cupboard. We're good. I am fucking like, I don't know why I always have the worst analogies to put things to music to, and a lot of times it just leads back to food, and I could be craving some sweets right now. But now going from playing your first ever concert to let's go to Aiden. Do you remember the first concert you ever saw? And then sometimes it's very different than the first concert you ever got to choose to go to yourself.
Well, I think both in the same. The first concert was my dad took me to go see Rush. I think it was 2007 at the Hollywood Bowl. That was my first. Yeah, that was like my first real like rock show. And I think I got into them the summer before. I was like begging my dad, like, we got to go see him when they come into town. And it happened to be on my birthday. So yeah, my 10th birthday, we went and saw, it was, I think, the Snakes and Arrows tour. And it kicked ass. That, to be honest, was a huge pivotal point. I was like, I need to do this somehow, or at least, experience
try to be like Rush. Yeah.
Maybe not like Rush, but just, I was just so floored by the experience. It just made me want to go home and practice my guitar. And I guess in the short term, I was like, oh, I better go home and practice because this kicked ass. And, maybe I could be, not famous, but just as good if I tried. And, but that was the first one.
Wow,
And
you're very lucky that you got to choose to go to your first ever concert. Some of us didn't have that luxury. Kasey, how about you?
I think, okay, if I'm remembering correctly, the first concert I ever went to with my parents was this Christian artist named Stephen Curtis Chapman.
I know exactly who he is.
Yeah, which actually, I went back recently. He has a song called Lord of the Dance, which I think holds up. It's a cool song, man. Like, the religious stuff, I don't know if I can get behind anymore, but the song is cool. But I don't know. I was pretty young. I don't think that left much of an impression on me because it was also like a stadium show. So there wasn't much. It was kind of like watching a movie. You don't really understand that they're real people when you're that far away. But the first show I ever chose to go to, I went with my older brother. I was 15 maybe, to the House of Blues in Anaheim. And I saw Say Anything, which was like my favorite band, one of my favorite bands at the time. And me and my brothers really, really loved Say Anything. And I think Murder by Death opened for them, which was another band that I was really into. Interestingly enough, have a cello player, and she was awesome. But that was the sweatiest show to this day that I've ever been to. Everyone was sweaty. I was sweaty. Like it was just extremely humid in that room.
Yeah, the sweatiest I'd ever been is the same show that I passed out at, and it's a show that's immortalized in Chris Cornell's biography. It was in a New York armory in the dead of summer that had no air conditioning and two small doors to go in and out of. And it was, everyone was soaking wet and passing out the entire time. And when I read Cornell's biography, I immediately call my friend who lives in Spain now, and I'm like, dude, that show we were at, it's in the book now. I thought it was like, I really at one point thought it didn't happen. I thought I made it up in my mind. Like I created this whole thing in my head, and like all of a sudden I'm reading about it in the book. I'm like, oh shit, that's the one. I was like, I could have sworn, like I thought after all these years it was
the sweatiest show of all time.
What was that?
Did he also remember it as the sweatiest show of all time in the biography?
Yeah, because they were dying on stage. Like it was so hot. They said it was one of the first times Kim ever took his shirt off in front of people because he was crazy. Sweaty.
Things will do for a man's bod.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna ask I want to see. I'm hoping to have two different answers here, but I'm going to start with Aiden. This is one of my favorite questions to ask. When it comes to Mineral King and you're talking to a complete stranger and you tell them you're in a band, what's the first song that you have currently released out in the world that you would play for that stranger to say, hey, yeah, I'm in a band. This is us.
It used to be variations for a while, but I think since the CP's come out, I usually steer people towards Threadbare.
I want to cry and scream and kick my feet. I want to tear my hair and gnash my teeth. Can't you see I'm so annoyed? You had to find what you were looking for while I lie and miss you on the floor. Well, isn't it a joy to know what I know? Don't you We don't talk about this like we're sure that we'll always wanna fight for more. I hope we're making the right choice, 'cause these
it is the most popular one, but it also, it kind of touches on old bases for a lot of people. It's got a really good like poppy verse, so it's a good representation of a lot of the different stuff we do. So it's sort of like, hey, if you're into this, you'll probably be into some of the other stuff that we do. I wouldn't show them. Window pane would be a stretch.
Yeah, there's some deep cuts that are sort of strange for sure.
The deep cut, yeah, there's some deep cuts you're gonna pull up, but yeah, probably Threadbare.
All right. How about for you, Kasey? Is it any different than that?
I think it depends. I think it depends a little bit on who I'm talking to. I think Aiden has a good point in that Threadbare kind of hits all the things. There's soft parts, there's groovy parts, there's loud parts, and there's a big long guitar solo. I think Never Enough is a song that I really love and that I really love to show people. And then On and On, I think, is in a similar way a really, really good representation of the band and one of my favorite things I've ever written. So that I might go towards On and On.
Ooh, good one.
And it's got a 15/8 chorus because that's our prog rock creds. When I tell people we're progressive, I'm like, oh yeah, but what about this chorus in 15/8, man?
So Never Enough is one of the songs that I've played. Like I'm like, hey, you got to hear this. Like, that's
nice.
The song. Yeah, like that's what. As soon as you said it, I was like, nailed it.
Yeah, man, I love that song. That was one of those that came out of like a really sometimes you're writing a song just to write a song or because you have an interesting idea. And that was one of those songs that came out from a very sort of genuine place. And so I'm really happy that it seems like when I talk to people at shows and stuff, it seems like it really connects with people. And that's really pretty special because there was not a lot of artifice behind it. It was just like I was having feelings that I wrote them down,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Now, Aiden, in your life, is there a band that when you're struggling for inspiration and you need something to listen to get you through something, is there an artist that you constantly turn to? I always say Rolling Stone calls it ask the question, what's your favorite band? I don't. It's that inspirational band that when you don't know what you listen to and you need help, you find yourself always listening to them.
Well, Kasey knows the answer to this one, but it's going to be, I've always been a huge Rush fan as a kid. It's one of those bands that, bands come and go, you go through changes in your life. And it's one of those bands. I have a couple, but it's one of the bands that have I've always enjoyed. And maybe it's because they have like a really diverse repertoire and catalog. So, there's kind of something for every sort of mood. But yeah, it kind of hits that nostalgia chord, but also as a musician, it's, it's fun music nerd type of stuff to listen to. But yeah, that's the band I hold near and dear to my heart.
How about you, Kasey?
Are we talking a band that we listen to like to get inspired, or just like when I don't know what to put on, what do I put on?
Yeah, when it's and that's why I say like people sometimes call it favorite band, but I find myself I have like two. It's like 1A and 1B that I constantly always turn to. And I'm like, I don't know what I want to listen to, and the band just never lets me down, and I just always put it on and always inspires me to get through like to the next moment in my life.
Sure. Talking about the band, or are you just saying like
no?
I do
definitely
love
not the band, but
I do love.
I have two bands. Mine are the Posies and Face to Face. Those are my two bands.
Oh, hell yeah.
To me, I mean, I go back to Pinegrove a lot, but for 6 or 8 years, that would have been an easy answer. I think these days it might be Slaughter Beach Dog. They have their first album, Birdie, I think is a perfect album, but I listened to their album Safe and Also No Fear. That's the album that like when I don't know what to listen to, or when I'm feeling upset, or when I'm like I just need something that's like comfortable and good, and there's like every moment of it is so perfect for me. That's definitely the album I'd go to.
All right. And I'll keep my Slaughter Beach Dog to myself, but
what's your Slaughter Beach Dog?
I just don't, and I've seen him perform a bunch of times, and I don't know if it's because modern baseball was my thing, and
sure,
it's just really hard for me. Like for me, listening to Slaughter Beach Dog, it comes to a point where like it's like, yeah, I can't. I can't listen to this for some reason. Like I don't know if it's, and I know a lot of times with music, it's like you just don't get it. And the best part about music too is it's always going to be there. So when it needs to find me, it will, but it has yet to do so. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. I don't. And then I always look at, there's enough Slaughter Beach Dog fans that they don't need another one. So
Yeah. I think I found Slaughter Beach Dog. Weirdly, I can't really connect that well with modern baseball.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the difference.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
So it just created something for everyone, for different walks of life.
Yeah.
All right. Pivotal moment. Another pivotal moment in your life will be the day you get your driver's license and you go to pick up your first friend. Aiden, do you kind of remember or have a general idea of what you were probably listening to when you went to pick up that friend for the first time with your freedom in your hand?
Absolutely. I know for a fact because I shared sort of my first car with my dad, like the first year. It was his old, like 2005 Toyota Prius, and it didn't have an aux cord. So, I had to go pull out the CDs. And I remember my dad he gave me like 2 CDs really randomly. It was Wes Montgomery's The Amazing Jazz Guitar of Wes Montgomery. It was a Tears for Fears album. I forgot what it was. And
Songs from Big Chair, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had like ordered this Rush bootleg live album from Europe that I had. And those were like the 3 that I had for the first almost 2 years of like driving my car. And that's what when I was in the car, that's what I had to listen to. That was it. So it was definitely one of them for sure.
Nice. How did that Rush bootleg sound? Was it glorious in that Prius driving around?
It actually was. It was one of those, like, it was recorded for like St. Louis public access radio, and then just was never licensed by the record company. So, probably just got put away somewhere, but it was all hi-fi and stereo recorded. I was shocked. It was awesome.
Nice.
But I don't know where it is now. It's long gone to the ether of time.
How about you, Kasey? Do you remember what you're listening to that first day of freedom going to pick up a friend?
I also was working with a set of CDs in the car, but for me, I know exactly which ones it was. It was these 3 CDs I found at Goodwill. The first one was the Gladiator soundtrack.
Okay.
And then there was Urban Hymns by The Verve, which is a pretty good album, like 7 out of 10. Yeah.
Great album.
Yeah. And Enya. I forget which one, but it's got the one song. It's got the one Enya song on it.
Yeah.
That everybody knows.
Yeah. Sail Away.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sucks that I'm like, I don't have a producer or anything here. So these are coming off of my head that I'm remembering. Fucking ridiculous. Oh, it's Sail Away by Enya.
Yeah.
Tears for Fears. Oh, songs from Big Chair. Like, geez, I can't turn my nerddom off sometimes, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty, like, did your friends look at you differently when you pulled up listening to Enya? I mean, I have to ask the question because you put it out there.
Unfortunately, I think I'm the sort of guy that when I pulled up listening to Enya, they were like, yeah.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. They're like, Kasey's not going to listen to something normal, Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Well, what were the 2 things you brought to college? It was the only 2 DVDs we had.
Oh, the 2 DVDs that I had were Afro Samurai, which I think is a 3 DVD collection, and then Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I still have those 2 DVDs. It's important.
Afro Samurai and Scott. I mean, I can see the fighting. You like fighting.
Sure. Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. When I was in the military, in the barracks, we only had one and this is a long time ago. So it was one VHS, and it was the movie The Program. And I don't think I've watched the movie The Program. It was like a football movie. I don't think I've watched it since 1996.
You burned it out.
But I watched it 900 times in like 2 years because that's all that we had.
That's awesome.
Sometimes you're stuck with that one thing, and you think you'd get tired of it, but you know what? It becomes a routine.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I still watch Star Wars fucking twice a week, A New Hope. So like, still do that to this day. So
it's giving you hope.
Yeah. Very good. That was great. I love that you did that, and I'm sorry that it fell flat. All right, Aiden, do you remember the last song you may have cried to?
that I may have cried to.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Let's see. Definitely wasn't Enya.
Could have been though.
It might have been. You may have just
It might have
blacked it
been
out.
Pinegrove. I think I was listening to. Was it Orange off the last album? And it was when all the fires were happening in LA, and I got I got teary. I'm like, wow, this is huge. This song's now a huge bummer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the last time. I think I got a little teary during a song.
Yeah. See, that's deep. That felt great.
The same thing happened to me when that song came out. I was on a road trip and there was a bunch of fires and the sky was orange. It was, yeah, it'll get you right time.
Yeah, music has that way of finding you when you really don't want it to. So now, next question. I mean, because I'm pretty sure Kasey's pretty proud of it, but like, Aiden, you're like something that you listen to that based off the bands we've named so far people would be really like crazy to find out that you get tons of enjoyment out of it. People call them guilty pleasures. I just call them pleasures, but you're also scared for a millisecond if someone catches you listening to it.
Oh, that's a good question. That's hard. I don't think I've had anything for a while that I've been embarrassed to listen to, but I have some weird, I love soundtracks a lot. I love listening to Howard Shore and like Spielberg. My dad always used to put on soundtracks, so it's sort of a comfort thing. I do definitely some Williams in there, the greatest hits. I love the Close Encounters soundtrack a lot.
Yeah, what a banger.
And that's sort of a weird it's not even guilty pleasure, just it's kind of like a random one I'll throw on sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we have to call it something so people understand. You know, we are at that point in our lives probably where everything's just a pleasure, but I was caught recently last year jamming out to Jamiroquai, and someone walked in on me when I was just fucking living through Jamiroquai, and I was still at my advanced age like, oh shit, I just got caught, and then I was like, I don't care, it's fucking great. But
you got that Jamiroquai.
Yeah, it's still that 1 millisecond where you're like, oh no. So
dude,
other than
into your house pretending like the floor's moving around, dude. Virtual insanity, pushing furniture around.
Yeah. Kasey, other than Enya, what's yours?
I've recently, I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure or just maybe it is. Recently, I've been kind of going through a little John Mayer phase. I've been listening to a lot of John Mayer recently.
All right.
Which is like, it's more just like, I tell people I'm listening there and it feels 20 years too late, you know? I think that's the reaction I get from a lot of people. They're like, okay, cool.
I like that answer because John Mayer is one of those artists that was so huge, but got forgotten about so fast. Like, he's playing with Dead and Company and he's doing all these, but it's like no one mentions John Mayer and probably hasn't in the past like 8 years, which is just crazy to me.
I think that's on purpose. He's collected the bag and now he's like in retirement dad rock zone, like 20 years early. Like he's realized he's like, I've made the bag. I'm just going to hang out with Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
Sell PRS guitars.
I'm just going to dome out in the Sphere and just, just play, just riff for the rest of my life. He's doing good. I'm happy he's just sort of hanging out.
Yeah, now he's just legitimately just playing dad rock, which is 5 people on stage playing a different song at the same time and calling it music.
But man, Continuum and Room for Squares, those two albums, they're really good, man. It holds up. All
right. Another deep memory, Aiden, for you, is there a performance memory of yours that is kind of locked into your brain and I like to go to the bad stuff because you probably have so many more good ones, but like a live performance that you were doing that just did not hit or go well, that at the least expected moment it always rears its ugly head, that memory. Or are you perfect at every performance you've ever had in your life?
I have never made a single mistake.
Yeah.
In my young years. No, I think probably the worst that sticks out, and it's sort of my rock bottom. Like anytime I've had like a bad show, I will think back to this one and be like, it wasn't that. So calm down. It's all right. It was my band in England we were playing this. It was like it wasn't even like a real gig. It was like one of those industry mixer gigs where a promoter tells you like, we're gonna throw you in a room in front of all these big cats. Really, it's just A&R people just like getting drunk in a room. But we were like the first band on. Yeah, first song like G string snaps. And I got kind of like a floating bridge set up on my Strat. So that means like everything is now completely out of tune. And I'm like playing very lead parts in this band. So yeah, very quickly, it unraveled. The rest of the band, it was a bad time. It was not a good time. And then a riot ensued outside the venue afterwards. It was quite a chaotic night. That could be a whole podcast on its own. But yeah, that's the one I look back and be like, listen, it's not that one. It's all right.
Wow. I love that. How about for you, Kasey? What's your worst performance memory?
I mean, there's a few to think of, but the one that comes to mind first is actually one of the first gigs that Mineral King played. We played this show at a venue which I think is maybe now defunct, but it's like kind of a chain of venues in Southern California. It was called the Canyon, and it was at the local mall in Santa Clarita, where we're from. And we had played their like little bar area, and then we were going to go play a show in the big room, and we were like super stoked. And we got there and found out that I guess the owner of the venue like didn't know that there was a show happening that night and was like, you guys can't use the mixer. I didn't hire an engineer. So basically over the course of like 2 hours, we went from like pretty stoked to like pretty much what we got was we were just playing with drum and amp unmiked sound, vocals going through like 2 of the PA speakers and no monitors. So we couldn't hear anything. There was nobody there. It was like this big 500 cap room with like 20 people in it. And I couldn't hear anything. And it was one of those where you get up and we played the first song and I was like, oh, I'm not having fun. And then we played 7 more songs.
Yeah, that one.
And it was just like I
wanted to go home.
Yeah,
home with that one.
Yeah. One of the few times I was on stage and I was like, "Get me out of here, man! I gotta get out of here." Yeah.
All right. Now let's turn that turmoil into something good. Aiden, do you have like that special memory of like, wow, this is it?
Well, it's hard to say. I feel like every couple shows is a really good show, and every show is a great show. I think with us for the most part, but not to toot our own horn, but we have one every couple shows that's just really we're locked in. The energy is really great, and for me, it's like those are the ones that sort of like, I don't know, make me forget about past ones. I was like, that was awesome. If I could just do that again, that's amazing. Like I think our last show in the tour was in Phoenix, and for whatever reason, we were just super locked in on that one. The sound system was great. We got a nice long sound check, and yeah, we were just really dialed in, and it felt great. Really good response from the crowd. But yeah, it's hard to say. Recently, we've had a stretch of some really good shows, so it feels like they keep getting topped.
All right. Can you pinpoint one, Kasey?
There's one that I always think about. I don't know if it's the best show, but Aiden and I went to a music college together. I think I mentioned, and they would do these showcases at the end of the semester that you could like audition for, and people would get up and do originals or covers. But our band, Kansas City Theater, did this kind of like heavy cover of "Bad Guy" by Billie Eilish, which had come out recently. And they put us on last, so we were up in this like pretty big theater in London with like all of our classmates, 500, 600 kids. And we started playing and everybody went fucking nuts. Like it was wild. It was one of those times where one of the only times I can think of looking out at a genuinely big crowd of people really, really having fun and being like, whoa, this is a wild experience. I think about that a lot.
Wow. Nice. Love that. All right. We're going to bring it back down again. All right. World's going to end in 5 minutes. Meteors hurling itself into the earth. You're forced to listen to one song and one song only. What are you listening to, Aiden?
Ooh, you only have 5 minutes. You can't think about it, dude. Clock's ticking.
Yeah. First thing that comes to your head.
First thing that comes to my head?
Yeah.
Shoot. Heaven knows I'm miserable now.
What a banger.
That'd be a funny one to go home. Go out to, dude. Get some Morrissey, dude. Have a Morrissey moment.
Get the rose in your teeth.
Oh,
nail around a little bit.
Unbuttoned shirt.
Yeah.
Just rolling around on stage.
Great, quick answer. Kasey, you had a little time. So.
Okay. Yeah, I had, but I didn't think because I was trying to riff about the Smiths. What would I put on? Man, I think it would be like a Rilo Kiley song, maybe like Better Son, Better Daughter by Rilo Kiley. That's a song that I listen to when some important shit's happening to me.
That's a cozy apocalypse, right?
Yeah, you know?
Very nice. All right. So this subject came up a little while ago, but we're still keeping this on the downbeat here. But your house is on fire. Every living thing gets out safely, including the goldfish. Everything living thing is out safely. You can run back into the house and grab one piece of music, something, whether it's memorabilia or instrument or something. What's the one musical thing that you're grabbing, Kasey?
Only one. I think, okay, in this scenario where I can only pick up one thing, I think I would pick up my hard drives, because you can get more guitars, but there's songs. There's unrepeatable things. Yeah, I think I would have to, you got to get the memory.
All right. Aiden.
I'd probably say my Les Paul. I don't use it too often these days, but it's kind of like the first nice instrument that I saved up with my own money. It's got a lot of sentimental value. So I'd probably grab that old guy.
Is that Cool Hand Luke?
The Cool Hand Luke guitar, yeah.
Yeah.
Good answers. And I love the diversity in the answers. Now, is there something that you own music memorabilia wise, Aiden, that is like, a prized possession in a collection, whether it's a record or CD or autograph, or like a music memorabilia that it's one of your most prized possessions of music other than your guitars and stuff?
Oof, that's hard to say. Well, I'd like instrument wise, this goes for Kasey because I guess we both own it, but we bought his uncle's 1976 Slingerland.
Oh yeah, that kit is so cool.
And it's got old 1980 Zildjians on it that are in really good shape. That's just such a sort of cool thing to have. It's in relatively good shape, but in terms of like memorabilia, I got like a second pressing. It's not Ghost in the Machine. It's one of my dad's old records that he gave me, and it's like a second pressing of Ghost in the Machine. That's sort of cool. But I've never been a huge like collectibles guy, I guess.
All right. Well, I am, so that's why I'm asking the question. So, how about you, Kasey?
I don't know. I don't know that I have anything that's individually that cool, but I'm a big merch guy. I have a lot of merch, so my house is sort of covered in posters. I try and always get a poster if there's a poster available, and literally every t-shirt I own is a merch shirt. So I have a lot of cool merch shirts. Most bands that I like, I have a shirt, which is pretty cool. Like a shirt that I bought at a show.
Yeah, I did. I kind of stopped it, and I'm going to pick it back up because it was just, I realized I had a problem. So for the record store, I was wearing a different band t-shirt of a concert I went to. And I got to I think it was 200 and something days in a row. And I was like, I have a problem. And
that's a lot of days in a row.
Yeah. And I was like, I need to not let people know how big of a problem it is, even though I already have. And I'm like, I still have 2 Rubbermaids full of shirts that I've collected that I hadn't worn yet. And I'm like, I'll pick it back up at some point. But I think we need a breather from this because people are starting to now comment on it. And I'm like, someone was like, I don't even own 12 t-shirts alone, let alone band shirts. I have a problem. But that just goes to show I've supported a lot of bands in my life.
Yeah. And if you got to wear a t-shirt anyways, it might as well be a band t-shirt. That's how I feel.
Exactly. Well, we're going to be wrapping up here shortly. And before we get to our final segment, I don't know who's the better brand manager for you guys that would like to take the opportunity to throw out all your handles and how people can find your music and how people can support the band, which is really important, by maybe purchasing some merch. I mean, that was kind of a great lead in, that we just had to do this. So, but yeah, whoever wants to, tell fans out there, new fans, old fans, how it is they can find all your stuff and support you. That's now take that opportunity for you.
Yeah. So we're at Mineral King Music pretty much everywhere. So TikTok and Instagram. We have a YouTube with some cool stuff on it that I'd highly encourage you to watch, and we're gonna have some more stuff up there pretty soon. Listening to our music anywhere does a great job of supporting us, and I've heard people at shows like, oh, I don't think I have any money to buy it, and it's like, man, you came to the show or you listen to the music, like that's so awesome. If people want to support even more, Bandcamp is a great place to do that, because we get most of the money directly. And we're going to have all of our merch from all the leftover merch from the last tour we did up there pretty soon. So you'll be able to grab some stuff if you weren't in an area that you could have come to a show. And yeah, you should be able to just Google Mineral King Bandcamp, be right there. Might be bandcamp.com/Mineral King Music, but I can't confirm that at the moment.
All right. Well, so people got to work a tiny
Yeah,
bit
you got to work a little
That's
bit. You got to get your Google fingers on.
Yeah. Google it. But awesome. So this is our final segment of the show. It's where you guys first appeared through Hidden Tracks, where I named as a weekly 3 thing that I was listening to. So you guys are going to have an opportunity to give me 3 things that you're listening to that you would like people to check out. So Kasey, you can give 3, then Aiden, you give 3, then I give my 3.
Are we talking songs?
Artists.
Okay.
Something that you're listening to that you'd really like people to check out.
I have been listening to the new album by the Beths, which is called Straight Line Was a Lie.
Oh, yes.
I fucking love the Beths.
Yep, me too. That was on mine recently because the date. I was listening to it on Thursday. I kind of cheated. So any brand people that the record showed up a day early in my shop, and I opened it and listened to it myself. Whatever.
There's a new album also by Billy Martin that I really love. I'm a huge Billy Martin fan. That's called Dog Eared. I really love that album. And then I gotta give a shout out to the Greep. I'm still listening to Jordy Greep, man. Jordy Greep's album is so good. It's so magical.
Nice.
It's like an anxiety attack, but in a good way.
For your ears.
Yeah.
All right, Aiden, you're 3.
I'll say the first one, Greep. I've been listening to that new album rocks. I was a little hesitant after Black Midi split up, but the Greeps, he's really came in clutch. The album kicks major butt. And then I think right now I've been listening to a lot of Masayoshi Takanaka, kind of going through like a little bit of like a early 80s, late 70s Japanese city pop sort of thing, a lot of Cassiopeia. And then this is an older one I found years ago, but he still pops up every now and then. It's Willie J. Healy. He's like an indie artist from England. He's kind of got like a, I don't know, Mac DeMarco, Neil Young-y sort of, even mellower. It's very, very mellowy, folky music. Kind of reminds me of sort of 2010s indie folk in a way.
Nice. Great 3s there, boys. All right, my first one for this week, Girl Puppy. The album Sweetness, the one that came out this year, found its way to my ears. Very indie rockish, along the lines of Boy Genius stuff. If you like that, check it out. Next is, it should have been on here much sooner, but I was kind of like, it was one of those things I was ashamed to admit that I absolutely love, and I've shared it with so many people, just not on the show yet. And that's Ethel Cain's new album, Willoughby Tucker. I mean, if you want to go to a place in your mind that you didn't know existed, this is the album to do it. Wasn't the hugest fan prior to this album, and then I listened to it and I was like, oh wow, could be some of the best stuff I've heard in a very long time by an artist. And last but not least, Actor Observer, a band that has just, I mean, I guess I don't know how to explain things. It's, I guess, hardcore screamcore with some great soft vocals in there. Kind of harkens back to like early, mid 2000s, like screamcore, where there's actually a great vocalist, but they also scream. So,
or there's 2 guys,
Yeah.
Like
But yeah, they just dropped a couple of tracks. The most recent one is Pyrrhic Victory. But yeah, super stoked that they're working on new stuff too. So, but those are my 3 for this week.
Hell yeah.
Well, Kasey, Aiden, huge heartfelt thank you to the both of you, not only for taking time out of your day to spend it with me for a little bit, but also the most important thing, for creating the music that brought us together. It really is, I try to tell everybody, and I try to tell you before we record and during the recording, like how important it is what you guys are doing, and it's creating beautiful music that reaches a stranger from across the country that feels that I want to put some time and effort into talking to you and learning more about you. And so keep doing what you're doing, because it's not lost. It's getting to people, whether you know it or not. Not everybody has the opportunity to tell artists and bands how much they love them, and this is my opportunity to do so, and keep it recorded forever, that you guys are great. So thank you so much for creating that music that brought us together.
Thank you, man. That means a lot.
Shay.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Well, you know what time it is now, everyone. It's time to go out, listen to Mineral King, and have a great fucking time.
Rotating around, now I'm trying to figure my life out. Like a clod of crumbling sand, when I get it, oh, it slips right through my hands. And I'm left back at the start. No, won't you wake me when it's the good part? 'Cause I've been doing everything wrong, and when I look back, oh, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. It goes on and on and on. Lately behind the wheel, I've been wondering how it feels to close my eyes and let momentum tear me off the road. But I suppose I'll never know. And you just want me to pick up my phone, but I'm doing everything wrong, and yet somehow my life goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. It goes on and on and on. Oh, my legs are shaking, and though I feel like breaking down, there's no compromise, the world keeps turning around. Oh, my legs are shaking, and though I feel like breaking down, there's no compromise, the world keeps turning around. Rotating around, now I'm trying to figure my life out. Like a clod of crumbling sand, when I get it, oh, it slips right
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.